Hi! I'm just kidding. How's it going?
Hihaniwashite Daiwachianke.
Hello, my name's Calvin.
And we're going to be doing the Am I the Asshole?
Part 2.
So the first one that we're going to be doing, this, you all seem to really like this, so we're going to keep going and let's see what happens. How are you feeling?
Read off the first. Am I the a-hole?
Okay. Alrighty. Am I the asshole for refusing to leave the house during my wife's book club? My wife has a weekly book club with her friends, and I'm really happy she takes the time to enjoy her hobbies and connect with friends. The issue is that she volunteered to host the club in our home, and I'm not allowed to be there while they're meeting. While I don't mind busying myself for an hour once in a while, they meet weekly for 3 to 4 hours at a time. She says there's a no men rule because the women share private things with each other, which I understand and respect, but I also don't think it's fair for them to expect me to get kicked out of my own home for most of my weekend, especially since I work 6 days a week. We both work, but I work more days, and I only have that one Saturday off. I also prefer to spend the extra time playing video games, so it's not like I can just take my computer to Starbucks with me. I've offered to put on headphones and stay in the bedroom, but she says the women will still feel my presence. I've asked if the women could take turns hosting, but she says all of the women have reasons why they can't host, including, which I thought was kind of irritating, some of their husbands not wanting to leave the home for so many hours. I've also asked if they could meet at a coffee shop and even offered to help pay for them to rent a meeting room somewhere, but she said they felt more comfortable in a home. This has been going on for 2 months now, and last week I told my wife I couldn't keep this up anymore, and she had to find a solution herself because I've already given her so many options already and gave her the heads up that I wasn't leaving this weekend. I think she thought I was bluffing, but come Saturday, I stayed home. Out of respect, I stayed in the bedroom when everyone came over, but they knew I was there, and I could tell the meeting got cut short because of that. My wife and I had a huge row afterwards, and here we are now. She's not talking to me, and I'm pretty pissed, but I'm not sure who's really in the wrong here. Edit. Because some have asked, my wife and I do spend time together on my day off. We usually get breakfast, go to the market, etc. And after the book club, she likes to go out for dinner, movie, etc. But I need some of my own private time too, which is why I want to play video games for a couple of hours in between. My wife also picked the day because it's the only day all of her other friends are free as well. Some have kids, church, etc., which is why Saturday is the only day they can all meet together.
This is a very interesting one. Seems like two people that both have a desire on the same day. They're trying to fit something in on a day that is his only day off. If he's being truthful and he's tried talking about this before with her, that definitely is a bit of a red flag to me personally, just because he's been trying to communicate that this is the only day that he has off. And when it comes to friends and having friends, you and me have had situations kind of similar to this before, where it's like, this is the only day it's going to work out and things like that. We're usually a lot more malleable though when it comes to where and when and how it's going to work out. These discussions aren't necessarily as, I feel like this is a very not willing to budge type of situation on her part, kind of, just because you have I don't know how big this group of friends is, but I feel like out of however many girls there are, they can come up with something that would be like the meeting place, especially if it has to be the one day that he has off. I'm not saying they have to do that every time either, because there's definitely situations where he could say every other Saturday he could make since he knows it's coming on his day off, make plans himself to hang out with his friends or do whatever, or or find another way to occupy his time for a while. And I also feel like the 4 hours part, they should probably come up with like how long the meeting would be like allowed. You know, maybe come to an agreement of like, hey, it's not like, maybe he could say something like, hey, it's not the fact that you're meeting on Saturday, it's not the fact that I'm not allowed there, it's the fact that I'm not allowed there for half the day. If these meetings are going for 4 to 6 hours, that's a long time to be out of your house.
Well, I feel like at that point, why not just rent a hotel room?
Expenses, but yeah.
I mean, but he has offered, why are you getting together for 4? I'm sorry, but there's no way that I'm talking about a book for 4 hours. Even with live shows with other people, the cutoff is usually like an hour to 2 hours that you're talking about a book, and then you're also like talking about stuff on the side. So in my personal opinion, I'm like, why, if you're spending 4 hours and you're like talking about your lives or like bitching about your husbands or like all this other stuff, then why don't you just say that and try to figure out a way that you can, this is what they said, once a month?
I mean, if it is once a month, that's a little bit different.
They meet weekly for 3 to 4 hours at a time.
Yeah, that's a
so
long,
like once a week.
That's a lot, and it's consistent, and it's always on the only day he has.
Yeah.
I definitely think they need to sit down, talk about things a little bit more. I don't think he's necessarily being an asshole unless he's not being honest and fully honest. He could be approaching this situation like an asshole and being like, well, it's my day off, you know, that type of situation.
But I mean, when okay, I'm sorry, but if you work every single day for like 10 hours, if I'm like, oh yeah, you have to leave on Sunday for 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
No. That's not happening. We're going to be beefing. We're going to be arguing. Part of me thinks that maybe one of them started like bitching about the husband and then it got back to the guy.
There's also a little comment of like, I thought it was irritating some of their husbands not wanting to leave their home. It's like kind of funny that they're not willing to kick their own husbands out. She's the only one that's like, no, get out of the house.
What books are you reading, or you have to talk about them for 4 hours? But you're not talking about the book for 4 hours. If I'm right, which I have a book club that I go to, and we talk about the book for like 20 minutes, and the other 40 minutes is like self-experiences and the things that you like tied to the book. So I can't imagine 4 hours. After like an hour and a half, at that point you're just like talking about your lives and all that stuff, which is fine. But why are you expecting your husband to leave that entire time? Is there something that you're doing or talking about that you like? I would be. That's
where I'm at too.
I would be playing detective of like, okay, why do I have to leave this long?
Especially when it comes to like a discussion about books, they could be reading something that's a little bit more inappropriate that they're not comfortable talking about in front of him, but. Like they could be reading that one book you showed me, The Haunting or whatever.
But you mean Haunting Adeline?
Yeah, like if they were reading that, I wouldn't want to be discussing that in front of my husband.
I've told you about like Birthday Girl and Credence.
You and me are different though. Like that, the average person probably isn't wanting to talk about the sex scene and this book or that book. But yeah, I don't think he's the asshole
given
what he's given us. So that's the next one.
So second one, am I the asshole for reporting my friend to his work and getting him fired because he refused to give my books back? I, 27F, recently had some friends over at my house for my birthday. I have a book collection with some signed books by relatively famous authors. They're not behind a locked shelf or anything, but they're in my room. After they left, I noticed that a few of my books were gone, and someone mentioned that Jay, 28 male, claimed I let him borrow the books. I called Jay and yelled at him about lying and stealing my books. He tried to explain that he was taking them to work, the bookstore, to get them officially appraised, and it was supposed to be a surprise gift. I chewed him off and asked him how that's considered a gift, and I wanted the books back. He refused. I told him I will be calling the cops to his work if he doesn't, and he still refused to bring them back. I immediately called the cops to file a police report and waited until the morning to call his work. I gave them all the details, including the case number, and said I'll be coming with an officer to get my books back from Jay that day. His work cooperated with me and promptly fired Jay after I got my books back. Jay claims that I went too far over a few books and demand that I give him money until he finds another job. Am I the asshole? Yeah, straight up. If one of my friends did that to me, yeah, I would be pissed. Like if somebody took my Erica Worth, my Danica Nava, my David Heskin Wombley, especially my David Heskin Wombley Whiten, oh my god, I would be like, we are no longer friends. I am going to murder you.
Let's just try to play devil's advocate for a second. Try to pretend. You would think if he was being honest about this situation and trying to appraise them for a gift, that his work friends would be in on it, that other people would be in on this situation, and it would be this weird secretive thing of like, this would be a surprise that other people would have to be aware of. Instead, his work straight up fires him. Like the bookstore fires him. They clearly found something suspicious about this entire situation, and then he's demanding money. So it's like the entire time he just wanted a paycheck for her books, basically, is all I'm seeing out of this.
It sounds like he just wanted to steal her books and he got caught.
This Jay, was it a good friend? Was it just somebody that was with her friends?
That's interesting too. Why wouldn't you just like ask permission?
And why would you refuse to give them back as well?
Yeah.
If this was a gift, you'd be like, oh, so sorry, I didn't understand the situation, here's your books back. Instead, he plays this weird like, oh no, I gotta sell these books, you know. Yeah, all around
That he went too
scum.
far over a few books. Yeah, no.
Oh yeah, it's very scummy. But it is an interesting tale as well of like, this was your birthday and no one said anything about him carrying out books. I'm just trying to picture this in my head. Maybe she invited a lot of people. This is a good warning to everybody watching. If you're gonna invite people and there's gonna be people that you don't know, make sure that you lock your room or something like that.
It sucks that you even have to do that. Because I remember that one time where somebody was coming over here and I was like, hey, put all your stuff away. And you're like, why?
Yeah.
I'm like, because people fucking steal, my guy.
If you're going to have that many people, you might want to pick a different venue than your house as well. These are things that can help you avoid situations like this.
Not the asshole. He fucked around and found out. Yeah. Man, if this was a sponsored post, that would be so nice, right? Because then I'd be like, and before we go into our third segment, we're going to hear from our sponsor.
Kolinsky brushes, sable brushes,
right?
Now on sale for $59.99.
You know what really helps me on a tough day? When I can just go home and draw using my Tombow blah 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 and I take a class sponsored by Skillshare. But no, this is not that.
We are not sponsored by Drink a Lot of This. All right.
I'm sorry. I don't think we want Pepsi sponsoring me.
No. I'm not saying no to a Pepsi sponsorship. They ain't gonna get a hold of your booktube ass, though.
Am I the asshole for giving my son a new book before my nephew? Me, wife, and I are looking to get our nephew, Jack, 13, while my brother-in-law and his wife are working abroad. Or looking after. Okay. He and our son, Cliff, 11, get along really well. There has been one issue, though. It happened twice, but the issue is the same thing. Namely, Jack being a much faster reader and spoiling a book for Cliff, despite Cliff begging him not to. Per their request, I pre-ordered 2 copies of the newest Percy Jackson book, Chalice of the Gods, which arrived at the same time. Both of them were really looking forward to it. I gave Cliff his copy and let him read it first, though, so Jack won't be able to spoil it. Took Cliff 3 days, and then I gave Jack his copy. My wife said what I did was unnecessary since Jack promised not to spoil the book again, and that I should have trusted our nephew to keep his word. Nah, that little shit got what he deserved. I'm sorry, but if I have to look after my kid. If you're spoiling books to my kid, no. You don't get to read it before him because we know that you're a faster reader. It's not fair, you know?
The only asshole in this post is, unfortunately, Jack. He's a 13-year-old boy. He knows he's a faster reader. He knows that Cliff doesn't want the book to be spoiled, yet he does it anyways. I don't necessarily agree with your take. I don't think that, as a parent, I don't necessarily think that this is worthy of intervening and trying to be like, oh, I'll give it to Cliff sooner. Like, I mean, it's your son. You care about your son, and you care about your son's emotions.
I personally think that it's interesting. Personally, I think that it's interesting. How did you get Cliff the copy, and then he didn't tell that Jack didn't find out?
Yeah. I think that the best way to avoid this actually would be to try to get them interested in different books at different times. And that way they don't have this crossing of the paths of if Cliff is interested in Percy Jackson and maybe Jack is interested into a different YA series or something like that, that could be a good way for them to talk about two different books and tell each other about the unique story that they're experiencing. And then they would actually have more to talk about as friends as well. And then they have something to look forward to when they eventually get to then they swap books, cross each other's paths, reconvene, talk about the differences they saw and things like that.
Also, I just want to say really cool on Cliff for being able to read it in 3 days.
I could see this parent buying Jack the book and being like, oh, by the way, this is how it ends, to get them to know. That would be horrible. It'd be horrible, but they would learn the lesson potentially of that's how it feels if it's spoiled.
I feel like that would be something that they would do in
We're talking more extreme.
Well, no, not necessarily extreme. I feel like that's something that would be done in an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, because they always do weird shit like that.
Yeah.
So this is the very last one we're going to be talking about.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Before I click on this, what is your favorite scary movie?
My favorite scary movie?
Yeah.
Jesus. I don't know if I actually have a favorite classic now that I think about it.
You don't have to. It doesn't have to be a classic. Which one that you watch and you can watch it every single time and you're still
I mean, I always loved Nightmare on Elm Street, obviously.
That is a
Very
good one.
Classic. The first Chucky's always been one of my go-tos for an actually scary movie. You know when a random deep cut that I'd want to see again? The Silent Hill movie. Not the newest one, but the one before that, because there's parts of that movie for me that's actually really freaking good. But it's not it for everyone, for sure.
What's one that scared you ungodly bad?
The worst movie for me is definitely The Ring. Just because of when watching it, when I watched it, I was basically 11, and seeing the girl in the cupboard at the beginning gave me nightmares for probably 3 months, I'd say. I literally had to sleep with the light on, and I was...
That's a lot for a little kid.
I was scared for the longest time of that movie.
That's me with 28 Days.
28 Days is a fucking...
I watched that at a really early age.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
That one was really scary.
Shaun of the Dead, that's a great,
but
it's
that
more
one's
spoofy, though.
Either way, that one's still really good. We connect pretty well with that one.
Yeah.
I would say my favorite scary movie, my favorite, classic movie, is The Shining. Just because whenever you watch it, you kind of gain something different from it. Another one that we recently watched that I really enjoyed was Ready or Not. That one was really good.
That's been a classic for our family for a while now.
Yeah. I also really like the Scream movie, just the first one. After that, it kind of gets a little convoluted. Urban Legends, I watched that when I was a teenager.
I will say, though, I don't endorse the Stanley Kubrick basically torturing the chick.
Oh, yeah, no. R.I.P. Shelley Duvall.
Right, and I kind of feel bad for Jack Nicholson, too, because, like, that was a hard role for him to escape.
Well, and I'm sure that was probably really hard for the kid, too.
Yeah, I wonder what he was saying about that movie afterwards. If that probably fucked him up, probably.
Well, I mean, that's, yeah. Another one. Ooh, you know what? I really like The Babysitter and Happy Death Day.
Alright, let's get our last one in.
Okay. Am I the asshole for writing a bad review on a friend's book? Hi.
Everyone sucks!
Alright!
That's how it starts, too.
So I kind of frequent the Bookstagram, BookTube, BookTok sphere enough to make some friends on the platforms. I signed up to be an e-arc reader from one of my book friends to get an early access of the book, which, if you don't know, is an electronic advanced reader copy reader. It's standard in at least self-publishing a book, and it's meant to pull in reviews before the book comes out to maximize its credibility. In exchange for a free book, you relieve an honest review. I read the book, and I gave it a 2 out of 5, and in exchange, I wrote a pretty lengthy review of the book, about 1.1k words, detailing both what I liked and what I thought could be improvised, and tried to put an emphasis on the fact that I still want to see the author write more, and I still enjoyed the book. The next morning, my author friend DM'd me and said that I thought we were friends, and it's not a good look to leave bad reviews on other indie authors' books. They said that I should have DM'd them beforehand about the review, and I should be bringing others up instead of pushing them down. I guess it could have been different if the authors were a complete stranger instead of someone I had actually grown a bond with, and I deleted the review in the end and gave them a 5-star rating for the support. But I don't know. The way it was all resolved doesn't feel right to me. Am I the asshole?
They're literally asking for reviews, and then they get mad about getting a review. This is kind of an interesting topic because of the review culture is actually really brutal nowadays, where in the video game space especially, it's like everything's a 7 out of 10. But then you like actually read the review, and it sounds like a 2 out of 10. But they like, they put 7 out of 10 because they want access to the book. Same with like authors, like especially if you're a small-time author, you are trying to make your break. And if the only review is a 2 out of 5 review, no one is picking up your book. You know, because it's hard enough for people to hear about it. The person that did pick this up probably understood the assignment a little too hard and was like, bro, did you really need to leave like a scathing, like 1,000 word review? You could have just been like, hey, I enjoyed the book. This gets into the whole like honesty over being genuine versus like doing what is like socially acceptable, I guess.
Protecting feelings, sugarcoating, that kind of deal.
But imagine like you're an author. Imagine seeing a 5.5 review and just like you could make that author's day if it's the only review. I don't know how like popular these books that she's talking about are.
Well, it looks like it's one of her book friends' arcs. So chances are it's like an indie book.
Oh yeah.
Which
I see it now.
I don't know if it's traditionally published or not. There's no thing for that.
You're like again, this is kind of part of the thing. You're making friends, and you've made some friends on the book sphere. Mm-hmm. Maybe instead of maybe for like the public thing, you say something a little bit nicer, 3 out of 10, and then you reach out to this person directly and be like, so this was like my actual full notes. I do agree with the, hey, could you at least hit me up and review it beforehand, so maybe we can talk about like the PR behind it potentially, because this is your friend. This is not some random person that you're reviewing a book for. This is somebody that you're trying to become friends with on BookTok. Like, this is a real person with real emotions, with real feelings that put their soul into their book. And it's not everybody's cup of tea. Not every book is gonna pander to a certain person. Yeah, yes, you're kind of being the asshole for writing a bad review on your friend's book, because from a public standpoint, you should be supporting your friend. On a private standpoint, you can be more honest in the background.
Do you want to protect your friend's feelings, or are you going to be honest? But where's the line?
And we live in a society where people go to the reviews so they don't have to buy the book, essentially. They're trying to get an idea of, is it worth my time to buy and read book? But you got the book early because of your connection.
Mm-hmm.
You got the book early.
That's happened a few times for me.
It's your friend.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving you the chance because they like you as a person, so that way you're getting a advanced copy of this book. This is like in a public way. You're not going to keep very many friends. This person's never reviewing another one of my books. And that's just the culture. That's the culture that we are in. That's why every video game outlet puts 7 out of 10 and then puts the real review under it. Most people don't actually read the review. They're just looking for the star rating or something like that.
Well, and also we really emphasize that authors should not be in reader spaces. I just want to say that right now, authors should not be in reader spaces. So I can see there's two sides of the coin. The author shouldn't be messaging them, but also if that's your friend, again, where is the line? I can actually talk about some of the things that I didn't like, or some of the things that maybe I personally didn't enjoy, but that doesn't mean that I hate it and I'm gonna leave a scathing ass review. I'm just not gonna leave a star rating, and I would be like, this would be the way that they could have framed this, of been this is some of the things for me personally, but I would recommend this to people that like XYZ, da-da-da-da-da.
It's a 1 out of 5 system for a reason. If you can't put 1 star or 2 stars, then it shouldn't be part of the rating system. As an author, you are going to have hundreds of people, thousands of people over your lifetime giving you bad reviews for every type of reason. You need to be able to take bad criticism. And even the most popular, most beloved series has bad reviews. Even the worst series in the world has good reviews. I personally feel like the culture needs to change, and there should be more of these honest reviews. It's actually more healthy in the long run if people are honest about their feelings and posting the truth about how they felt reading the book. But you need to tell your friend in advance that is your mindset, because that is the right thing to do.
Well, it's just like when you're chatting. Do you want me to be mean, or do you want me to be nice?
You just tell your friend straight up, hey, if you're going to give me this copy, I'm going to be direct. I'm going to be reviewing this like a critic. This has nothing to do with my feelings towards you. That at least gives them the ability to be like, okay, maybe I don't want your review right now. Maybe I want to curate my reviews to be better for the audience.
But then at that point, you are in the space. You're in a space that you shouldn't be in.
Yeah. You're not ready. You're not ready to be a full-fledged author until you're able to accept.
You need to just straight up divorce yourself.
All right. Well, anyways, that was gonna do it for us today. Hope you enjoyed this version of Am I the Asshole?
My links are down below.
Leave a comment. Let us know if there's any post that you want us to review. We were talking about maybe trying to do a RuneScape ranking video of you ranking RuneScape bosses. So if you are interested in that idea, leave a comment. Let us know what you want us to do next as a couple.
Make sure that you're nourishing yourself. Make sure you're hydrating. Take care of yourself. Buy your winter shit. Put it in your car. Because you don't want to need it and not have it.
Can Chris Evans drive? What is going on with me and driving?
Yes.
I can drive very well.
I'm trying to get a
Walked in the
bunch of
middle
bitches to kneel.
Snowstorm once.
And I literally work outside.
That was well, that too.
Alright.
It's very cold. Insulated socks.
That's my husband.
Okay.
Squirrels are scary, man. He's a kid now, Thor. Best of friends. Best of friends.
Maybe. Hey, honey bunnies.
I'm not a doctor, I'm an actor. Tea, darling.